breaking every rule. Is she anybody's fool? Pepper Ann, marching in her own parade. Pepper Ann, she's like one in a million. Pepper Ann, much too cool for 7th grade. Catch her if you can, Pepper Ann.
Boo, is that girl from gym class?
No, that's me.
Oh. Who is she and why does she have her own song?
Did someone take my lunch?
Pepper Ann, marching in her own parade. Pepper Ann, she's like one in a million.
Oh, yeah. South Coast Towing, I got to thank you. Chris Medeiros and company, I really have to thank you because I'm listening to the Pepper Ann song through the WBSM app, which, thanks to South Coast Towing, we are allowed to have it for FREE free. And it just sounds so great listening to it through the app. If you're listening through the app right now, you know what I mean. Very good morning to you. I'm Brian. Welcome to Brian's Beat, the only show, maybe on the planet. I can't say the universe because, quite frankly, I haven't been out of the universe, but certainly I can say the planet. The only show born at the apex of freedom, entrepreneurship, and nomadism. I can tell you it's not a wet Saturday, at least not around here. It's pretty nice. And our temperature today could get up into the upper 70s, maybe the low 80s, but don't worry about the humidity. It seems to be gone. And I think we're pretty lucky because we didn't have a lot of the rain and the tornadoes like they did up north and out to the west out there. At any rate, ABC did an excellent job letting you know what it is that they wanted you to know. I hope I can match them. Red Sox, it was one of those nights I didn't sleep too well. And so I woke up at, let's say, 12:30 in the morning. Maybe 1:45, somewhere around there. Red Sox are winning 1-0. 1-0 against the Dodgers. Dodgers are up in the bottom of the 8th. I take a look at the phone and I'm seeing the score. I see there are no outs in the bottom of the 8th. And I say, well, we'll see what happens. I picked up the phone maybe 10 minutes later. All of a sudden, game's over. 4-1. Dodgers beat the Red Sox. They scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Well, same 2 teams this afternoon. What else is going on? It's like a yo-yo over at the New Bedford City Council chambers. The council voted to get rid of them. Then they decided to bring them back. And then again on Thursday, they voted to keep the ban on single-use plastic bags. It's an outdated money pit. That's how the sheriff describes the Ash Street Jail. Getting bigger and bigger, the new state budget, more than $58 billion with the B, billion tax dollars. It was a technology glitch. That's what caused all the delays at Logan Airport yesterday, over at the Registry of Motor Vehicles, even canceled surgeries at hospitals. Which do you think will happen first? South Coast Rail or fixing those wind turbines off Nantucket? Thinking about the train, the MBTA, with all of the problems that they seem to have, got to close down in September to fix some tracks. Had a little trolley thing tip over and had to bus people around the other day. With all of the problems with the MBTA, wouldn't you know it, they have some extra money. And you know what they're going to do with that extra money? They're going to go out and get Narcan and put Narcan at certain T stations. It's going to be a trial program that they hope to expand. No, serious about that. Democratic insiders say Joe Biden will be out of the presidential race in just a few days. Barry's on vacation. He comes back a week from Monday. My guess is when Barry comes back, that Monday, I think it's Monday the 29th, he will share with you that Joe Biden is out of the presidential race. I might share it with you before then. The Karen Reed watch continues. When Netflix produces a movie on the high-profile trial, no idea if the Netflix version has Reed guilty or not guilty. From the I Need Work economy, with free community college comes job losses. More after the Brian's B quote of the day. Something happened 34 years ago. Jim has a preview on tomorrow's Town Square Sunday. The Bitcoin Biz Barometer, next half hour. Monthly Fee RX brings us the Brian's B quote of the day after we learn a little bit more about today, Saturday, July 20th, 2024. If you like Chinese restaurants, you probably like the fortune cookie. Today is Fortune Cookie Day. Fortunes never seem to come out true, though. Cookies taste okay. International Cake Day. I can go with that. International Cake Day. It's also International Chess Day. Wonder why that happens on July 20th, International Chess Day. It's Moon Day. And you know why it's Moon Day? We landed on the moon on this date back in 1969. It's Moon Day. It's also Nap Day. if Bob Hope has a joke about life and how everything is going okay until about noontime, then it's nap time. Well, it's Nap Day. It's also National Bridal Sale Day. I didn't look it up, but I get the feeling that because it's mid-July, you can probably get some good discounts on bridal stuff. Not horse bridal stuff, wedding bridal stuff. It's also National Ice Cream Soda Day. Long time since I've had one of those. When was the last time you had an ice cream soda? 508-996-0500. When was the last time you had an ice cream soda? It's also National Lollipop Day. Now, I would ask you the same question, but, lollipops, a lot less expensive, easier to come by. You probably have had a lollipop before that ice cream soda. It's also National Ugly Truck Contest Day. There are some beauties in downtown New Bedford on Thursday. National Ugly Truck Contest Day. It's also National Woody Wagon Day. Why, I do not know. But they celebrated on the third Saturday of the month of July. Woody Wagon. Like we really need to celebrate Woody Wagon. But we are. It's also Space Exploration Day. Kind of tie that in with Moon Day. Strawberry Rhubarb Wine Day. Whew. Man, I mean, sometimes they really stretch it here. Strawberry Rhubarb Wine. I'm not much of a wine drinker. I don't think if I did, I would want to try that. Maybe you have. Toss away the could-haves and should-haves day. Isn't it woulda, coulda, shoulda? Toss away the could-haves and should-haves. I'll see if I can make it throughout the day without a could-have or a should-have. I'm willing to bet that I can't have. It's Women's Dive Day. Yeah, I kind of snickered at first, too. But I think it's swimming, diving, Women's Dive Day. And it's World Jump Day. Take a jump. The first known women's rights convention took place in Seneca, New York on this date in 1848. Now, I'd say it's the first known. But what about all those other times when women were meeting in the powder room and they were talking about, we should have our own rights? What about the times when they were meeting in the kitchen? How come we're always in here and they're out doing that? First known Women's Rights Day convention in Seneca, New York, 1848. Ford had a better idea when it shipped its very first automobile on this date in 1903. 1934, the kids learned from authority figures. Police fire shots on striking Teamsters in Minnesota, killing 2, wounding 67 others. The kids learned from authority figures. On the same date in 1934, Seattle, Washington, the cops fired tear gas at striking longshoremen. One small step, one giant leap for mankind, as Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin walk in the Nevada desert, and they called it the moon, 1969, July 20th. That was, we talk about where you were on the date that, there are two different dates. The date before, the 19th, when the Apollo rocket actually landed on the moon. And then the next day, when Buzz and Neil took that first step. Did you watch both? Were you able? There are some people that are listening to this show that may have been at work and there was no TV at work. I was at Camp Run Amok, as I like to call it. There was one TV. It was in this room that was kind of like the library. And it was in black and white, but we watched both days. The hell with all the other activities that were going on. There had to be 20, 30 of us in this library. And we're watching Walter Cronkite, watching as the Apollo landed on the moon. I don't know about you, but I'm wondering, is this thing going to just kind of sink down on the moon? It didn't, obviously. And then the next day, we're back there, and we're watching Neil and Buzz take those steps. And, of course, Armstrong's, this is one of those stories that it makes you wonder. Because we heard Neil Armstrong in the one small step, one giant leap for mankind. One small step for man. One giant leap for mankind. And I'm thinking, on a telephone, you can't hear that far, but you mean to tell me They've got a system set up where you can be on the moon, and through all the technology, we can hear Neil Armstrong. Well, that was 1969. Here we are in 2024, and we're still having computer glitches. 1976. The Viking 1 lands on Mars. So basically, 7 years after Neil and Buzz, the Viking 1 lands on Mars. Nobody got out of that puppy. Started walking around. It took a Freedom of Information Act request, but on this date in 1977, the CIA released documents proving they engaged in mind control experiments. How does that make you feel about your government? The CIA. First of all, you had to get a Freedom of Information Act in order to get the material. And then we find out they're playing with our heads. The CIA playing with our heads. 1997, the USS Constitution celebrated its 200th birthday. How did it do it? Let's go out for a little sale. A birthday sale. For the first time in more than 100 years, the USS Constitution went out onto the waters, sailed around for a little bit, then came back. 2015, after 5 decades plus of the cold shoulder treatment, the United States and Cuba finally renewed diplomatic relations. And then what happened? The next president came in and soured those relations. This brings us to the part where I say monthly fee RX brings us the Brian's Beat quote of the day. If you're spending less than $20 a month for prescription drugs, great. If not, then our monthly fee RX service might be a good option for you. Check for yourself at monthlyfeerx.com. And we spoke about Walter Cronkite before, watching CBS when the astronauts landed on the moon and then took that walk. The Brian's Beat quote of the day comes from Walter Cronkite. Very appropriate considering where we are on this date, July 20th, 2024. Walter came up with this quote, not me, Walter. We are not educated well enough to perform the necessary act of intelligently selecting our leaders. Walter Cronkite, not Brian. We are not educated well enough to perform the necessary act of intelligently selecting our leaders. Any thoughts on that? 508-996-0500 is how you get onto the program. Let's take one before we go into the break. Hello. All right, well, then if you don't want to be taken, I won't take you. Yes, we are here, and so is Jim Phillips, Studio 6 and 7/8. He has our promo for Town Square Sunday.
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Phillips, and here's what's happening this week on Town Square Sunday. July is the 34th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. To celebrate, members of two organizations, MoLife and the Fairhaven Commission on Disabilities, are joining forces to hold a diverse abilities celebration on July 28th. We'll have details. Also, the New Bedford Fire Museum is now open 6 days a week, 1 to 4 from now through September 3rd. Lead volunteer Larry Roy will brief us on the museum and why it's an important part of New Bedford history. And the Seaport Art Walk is now on display in New Bedford will speak to the project manager and a local artist about this year's exhibit. I'm Jim Phillips. Join me for Town Square Sunday, Sunday morning at 6 and 11 on 1420 WBSM and 99.5 FM.
Thank you very much, Jim. I've got the TV on, and there's this barbecue smoker that also makes pizza. And I'm telling you, the food looks summery. I'm looking at brisket, all kinds of things. And of course, the captions are coming up. Conquer outdoor cooking with the Ninja wood fire. I don't know. I've never tried one and wouldn't mind, but those things seem like they're pretty expensive. Give me the regular barbecue grill. 508-996-0500. We do have the Bitcoin Biz Barometer coming up in just a bit. But before we go down that particular road, during the commercial break, I happened to be looking online. Between looking at the Ninja wood fire, I was also looking online. And there is this story, SouthCoastToday.com, which is the Standard Times. And I started to scratch my head. Now, I don't know if you know who or what the MIAA is. The Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association. High school sports, basically. With all of the different things that have been going on with young boys or older boys, some 18, I guess, young men, playing in girls' sports, the MIAA hasn't figured out what to do about that. They haven't figured out, either they can't play or they definitely cannot play or some rules, because there have been some girls that have been hurt. So why am I bringing that up right now? Because SouthCoastToday.com has this story that says, in the latest rule change proposal for the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association for 2025 through 27, the MIAA is going to recognize and sponsor 4 new sports. 4 new sports. Cheerleading. They have to recognize cheerleading? Now, I think cheerleading is a sport. I think many males and females enjoy doing cheerleading. I never thought that it had to be sanctioned by the MIAA. Cheerleading. That's one of them. Orienteering. I don't even know what that is. Orient and then tearing. One word, orienteering. If you know what kind of sport that is, please let me know. I'm clueless. I have no idea. The other 2 sports I do know. Girls flag football and ultimate frisbee. The MIAA is going to recognize and sponsor ultimate frisbee? Can you imagine the traveling ultimate frisbee team? Is it going to be co-ed? Is it going to be just boys, just girls? And when it comes to flag football, which is different, wholly different than tackle football, it says girls flag football. Now, I'm going to take you back to my day. There were folks my age that were small. And a lot of the kids that were small, they kind of went over to soccer. They played soccer because they didn't think that they were big enough. frankly, they thought they'd get crushed if they got out there in the football field with those of us who played football. Some could have been pretty good players. You could have certain plays for players like that. I bring this up because now you've got the MIAA coming up with girls flag football, and there's no boys flag football. If there's a problem with boys playing girls field hockey, what the hell do you think is going to happen when you start talking about girls flag football? So those are your 4 sports. At least 3 of them, at least 2 of them are sports. Cheerleading, I don't know if we're I guess it's a sport. That's what the MIAA. You know, we need to talk to somebody from the MIAA. Former Superintendent Baldwin, if you're listening, give me a call here. 508-996-0500. Really? Ultimate Frisbee, girls flag football, cheerleading, and orienteering. Again, I have no idea what orienteering is. If you do, could you please let me know? So the state budget, unbelievable, $58 billion. And it doesn't seem like it was that long ago that I sat in a chair similar to the one that I'm sitting in right now, and I commented, I can't believe the state has a $1 billion budget. And then it was, 3 or 4 years ago, it was a $40 billion budget. It is $58 billion going into, I guess, fiscal year 2025. Now, put on your thinking cap for a second. If it's $58 billion going into fiscal year 2025, imagine what it's going to be like, the budget, when we go into fiscal year 2035. Do you think, if the country is still a country, if the Commonwealth is still the Commonwealth, do you think that we could have a state budget that's over $100 billion? Can you imagine? I can remember, many decades ago now, when the federal government had billions in its budget, and I said, "You got to be kidding me!" Who's thinking of 1,000 million? Sometimes you just become speechless, and that's exactly how I am at this particular time. 508-996-0500. Let somebody else take this over because I'm going crazy. I am going crazy. Orienteering budgets that are just out of, that they're not on this planet. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, it's Brian.
Can you actually call it a budget if they don't actually stick to it?
A budget, a spending plan. What do you want to call it? Just, more of your money.
A starting point. How about that?
A starting point.
A starting point.
Excellent. All right. So the starting point is $58.3 billion. Do I have 58.4? 58.4? 50? We're going to make it an odd show.
It's funny because it's not worth the paper it's written on the minute it's submitted. So
absolutely,
it doesn't really
right.
matter.
Oh my God.
But orienteering, by the way, is the sport of navigating by using a map and compass, which is pretty boring.
That's a sport?
Yes. Well, I have this book. It's called The Big Book of Sports. It's like, it was actually, I got it when I was young. Every single sport in the world is in this book, and all the rules and and that was in there. I was like, I had to look it up, but yeah, it's basically, navigating through the woods with a map and a compass. But I don't know why you would do it today, because kids have phones and you have GPSs on the phone, and they would just cheat. So what's the point of having a map and compass exercise?
I don't know. More to the point, and it might be in this book of sports that you're talking about, but I'm thinking, you're going to get kids that are going to sign up to play that?
Yeah, it's sort of. I remember it in Boy Scouts because it was all part of the Boy Scout experience.
Yeah, I mean, it belongs there. Yeah,
right. And for us, orienteering is like going from the Boy Scout, camp to the nearest grocery store that had candy. So that was pretty much the whole plan. But yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure that that's like a great modern sport. Definitely a nostalgic sport, but not. The kids are going to pull a phone out and go, "Oh, okay, go this way."
Well, they being the officials, they might make sure that you don't have any phones. Of course, you could hide one behind a tree.
Well, you're old enough to remember, and you're about my age, but sports like orienteering. I had friends in my neighborhood that were ham radio operators back then, and used the Morse code, which was the non-verbal version of the ham radio. We learned a lot of really cool things, that didn't require computers or cell phones, back in the day. So,
I took a Morse code class, and I walked out. We had a break after 45 minutes, and I didn't walk back in.
I never got the full ham radio license, the one that you could use a microphone with and talk, because I went to a lot of the jamborees. There used to be a jamboree in Newport that was on Goat Island, which is that island right in the middle of Newport that has the little causeway that goes over to it. And back then there were no buildings on the island. It used to be the torpedo station where they built torpedoes, and it was long since deserted. And so they would string a coaxial cable the entire length of the island, and then everyone would tap into it. And the jamboree would go for the whole weekend, including overnight. So you were talking to people from Australia and from South Africa, and the cool thing was that if you connected with somebody, let's say from Australia, they would send you a postcard in the mail, and it would have their call number on it and a picture that they put in the background. And it was pretty common that, weeks to months after the jamboree for ham radios, you would get all these postcards in the mail because you would give them your address, and then you would send them postcards. So, it was kind of cool to collect all these postcards from around the world. But,
who sends a postcard anymore?
Nobody.
Not too many. Hey, before I let you go, I want to ask you, because I was talking about these sports, orienteering, cheerleading, but this girls' flag football, since there's no boys' flag football, aren't we opening up a can of worms here? Because, there are kids who might not want to play soccer, but, wish they could play tackle football, but they don't want to get crushed. Can't you see boys going out for girls' flag football?
Yeah, and I think it's a fairly physically neutral sport, if you think about it, because, I guess the quarterback position would be, could be more dominated by a guy, but, for running, especially in those age groups, girls can run fast, and it's not a physical sport the same way that football is, because you're pulling a flag. Socially, I think it would probably be good if it were co-ed, because these days there's not as much. Seriously, it's like,
no, that part makes sense. But I'll tell you what, a boy might think, well, I can run right through two girls.
Yeah, but they pull the flag and they can still knock a guy down.
Well, they can knock a guy down, but don't you think a guy has a better chance of knocking 2 bowling pins down?
Yeah, maybe. But, flag football, you grab for the hip and, you're not necessarily standing in front of somebody's square. But
you grab for the hip and next thing you know, you're up on some type of molestation charge.
Yeah, you'll be filling out a quarry report.
There you go.
And
wait a minute. And are we supposed to go out and sanction and pay referees for this?
I think flag football is probably the healthiest sport you mentioned. I mean, orienteering, you might let all the kids go and they never see them again. So,
yeah, the parents are going to sign their kids up for that. Hey, thanks for the call. I do appreciate it. 508-996-0500 is how you get onto Brian's beat today. Yeah. So they have these sports. And we were talking about the budget. I want to get into this. $58 billion. And some of that money is going to cover free, pardon me for saying that, because there's no such thing as a free lunch. But it's going to cover community college for everyone. Now, I haven't been able to decipher exactly who everyone is. For instance, woman friend asked me this the other day, yesterday, if she could go. She's a college graduate. I'm a college graduate. But she might want to take a course in something else, outside of what her major is in. Would you then qualify to go to community college if it's for everybody? By the way, and if everybody's tax dollars is supposed to be paying into this, then the door should be open. I am not for free community college. I'm just saying that would at least be taxation or the representation of the taxation by allowing everybody to go. I think we open up a huge can of worms if we do something like that, but at least you could let everybody go. Here's something else that hit my brain. If community college is free, and let's just never mind people that are coming in from outside the country and they get to go. People that would come in from outside the state and they would get to go. If community college is free here in the Commonwealth, what do you think the average kid that's graduating from high school is going to do? Do you think that she or he is going to apply to go to Bridgewater State, Framingham State, MCLA, UMass, Dartmouth, UMass Amherst, UMass Boston, Lowell? Do you think they're going to apply to go to those schools first? Or do you think they're going to, well, I'll go to community college for free, and then I'll go to one of those other colleges if I want to for only 2 years? What does this do? What kind of impact will free community college have on UMass Dartmouth, UMass Lowell, UMass Amherst, Bridgewater State, Framingham State, those schools? The financial impact would be devastating. If, UMass Dartmouth, this, I believe, is the second year, maybe the third year coming up for the new dorms. These dorms are for freshmen and sophomore. Well, if you don't have freshmen and sophomores coming to school because they're going to community college, all of a sudden you've got a lot of dorm space. Well, the good thing about the dorm space is now you've got a place to shelter some of the migrants. Let's see. Oh, first of all, thank you very much for listening to us online at WBSM.com, or if you have the WBSM app, great way to do it. Nice crystal clear sound. 72 degrees in Mattapoisett, 73 in Fall River, 72 in New Bedford. Let's go back to you. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I am. How are you?
Good, Brian. I got a couple of questions. I've been looking all morning for a local story and also a national story that I've been hearing that I want to bring up. It's a local story that totally amazes me. I think it's been almost 4 or 5 days now about the windmill that had a total malfunction. Everything's washing up there like in Nantucket, all kinds of fiberglass pieces everywhere. And we still don't know what happened. Can you imagine if that was an oil company?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You'd have all kinds of folks out.
I'm looking at...
So what aren't you saying? Because it's at WBSM.com. I've got the story here from the...
You got the story,
Globe.
But they're not specifically saying what happened.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't think they know.
Well, you look at it, what I'm thinking, because I'm looking at the past week or so, I don't know if it happened this week or last week, and they finally have to reveal it now because it's washing up. There hasn't been no crazy bad weather, so it can't be a weather. Is it total just poor workmanship, and it totally fell apart?
Now, you would say poor workmanship, wouldn't you? Where were those put together?
Where they put... honestly, I didn't even say that thinking that they were put together here. I don't know if it was from another assembly point.
I think that they were assembled here, taken out to sea, and then final pieces put together.
Okay, all right, okay, fine then. But still, I don't care about that. I want to know the facts. But the thing is, no one's talking about it, and it goes to show, our politicians in the last 5 or 6 years, they all become Don Quixote. They're all chasing windmills. And that's not the solution, okay? And you know what the solution is for windmill? If they really want to help out local residents, and there was talk about this, they could put a windmill right off the sewer treatment plant. I think it's over 60% of the price you pay for your sewage is energy, okay? They could have a windmill that could totally take care of that whole sewage treatment plant, energy-wise, and lower your water and sewer bill immediately. But they don't want to do that, though, because they don't want the eyesore, even though it'll save people probably...
So wait a minute. We're talking sewage treatment. Isn't that an eyesore in and of itself?
Oh, hey, listen, was it Bullitt or was it Rosemary Turney that it caused her election because they ended up putting that plant there? And now it's become a big attraction. It's a park, people always hanging out there and everything else because there was no insight about the future. But what I'm trying to say is these windmills are a losing proposition, okay? You cannot produce enough windmills to run the country. You can't. If they could help through certain situations, just like if you want solar panels like in your house, go for it. It's your house. To put it on. But you're going to clear forests and destroy oceans? No. That's stupid.
Gotcha, man. Thank you.
I'm
going to try to get one more in before we go off into Yanya for the news. Hello.
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 Yes. I just, when you mentioned that the, Americans with Disabilities Act is going to have a meeting or something.
I don't recall. Oh, maybe Jim did.
No, today you just said something about there was going to be a meeting, but there'd be further details or something. But I'm the last 2 years I've been relegated to a wheelchair. And I just get so frustrated when I want to go out to dinner. I have somebody who will drive me and push me around. They have the nice ramps like they're supposed to. And you get up to a door, a big, heavy door that, of course, swings out. I understand that for, doors have to swing out. And they don't have any of these automatic doors. These restaurants I'm talking about. They don't have the automatic doors, or they don't have the, you can push a button and they'll open up for you or anything. And I think that should be part of the rules for disability. People in wheelchairs, you can't go alone because these doors open out. And there's usually two doors. There's an inner door, too, which opens out.
And I would think that those doors would be, I don't know you, but even a guy in a wheelchair, those doors, the big, heavy ones, they're hard for one person to even try to open.
So they go through this act of putting up the ramp, but when you get to the top, and some of them are a little bit steep, get to the top, what do? You know, unless some people happen to be coming in and are generous, and there are a lot of people who do that. But if there's nobody coming through who will open the door and hold it for you while you go in, it's ridiculous. Now, don't you think that should be part of the Disability Act, that these public places or restaurants have to have
So I don't know about the Disabilities Act, but I would say this, and I appreciate your call. I think it's great business for restaurants and any type of store to make themselves accessible to customers who would want to come in and shop. I do appreciate your call. Thank you. And the reason why I'm letting her go right now, it's time for the Bitcoin Biz Barometer, where we measure the universal crypto marketplace. Bitcoin up $8,500 from this time last week, coming in at $66,604. Ethereum, $3,503. That's up $367. Binance Coin, $590, up $56. Solana, $169. That's up $30. XRP at 59 cents. It is up 9 cents. Toncoin still even at $7. And Dogecoin up a couple of pennies at 12 cents. And that's your Bitcoin Biz Barometer for today, July 20th, 2024. As always, I get my numbers from CoinMarketCap.com.